Alright, so we're still working on the high idle vacuum leak situation that I got going on. I started doing something off camera here, but I'll show you what I got going on. There's the fast idle controller and the idle air controller are back here. They're this piece and this piece right here. So what I did was I got both of the hoses disconnected, and I actually cut some new ones because these were hard and brittle and blah blah blah. So I'm hoping maybe that might have something to do with my vacuum leak. But and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and spray some WD-40 in this hole and this hole, hopefully while the car's running, and see if we can get them freed up, just to make sure that they're not what's causing my high idle. Alright, so I've made an interesting discovery. Probably in relation to the high idle. I checked base timing before, but I never really considered it to be correct because the car idles so high. So, I didn't really know what exactly was going on, but recently when I put the crank on last time, I measured, I marked everything with paint real good so I could see it, and I unplugged the idle air controller, which could get my idle down to normal, around 700-800 RPMs, and when I measure my base timing at that point, it's way high, like ridiculously high. Like I can't even move the cam angle sensor enough to bring it down to what it needs to be. When the cam angle sensor is fully adjusted, it's still reading at like 50 degrees before top dead center, which it's supposed to be 15. So I'm gonna have to do a little research and figure out what's going on. Alright, so I did a little bit of investigating this morning in the rain again, and I've come to find out that the mark on the crankshaft pulley is in the wrong spot. I'll show you. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to rotate this motor so you can see my timing mark there right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this at top dead center, which is right about there, so you can see the dot on the back of the cover is lined up with the dot on the cam gear, and it's matched up here too. I also verified this by sticking a piece of wire down in cylinder 1 and watching it rise and fall, and this is 100% top dead center, which means our mark should be at 0, and you can see where the mark is. It's off by a lot. So I have two theories of why this is happening. Either this is not the crankshaft pulley for this car, or the rubber in the harmonic balancer is failing, allowing the outer metal ring to spin from the inner metal ring. I really don't think that's the case, because I feel like if the rubber was failing, it would be kind of an all or nothing situation, and it would have just completely been destroyed by now, especially since I drove the car for a long time yesterday. I mean, it's very possible it's the crankshaft pulley from a different car, obviously. I'm sure that tons of Nissans from around this year have the same crankshaft pulley size-wise, but they may not have their timing marks in the same spot. So I'm thinking that's the more likely option, but I'm not willing to risk that the crankshaft pulley might be damaged. So what I'm doing right now is we're going to go ahead and take this pulley off. Alright guys, so I believe all this is right. You can see the Woodruff key is just a little bit to the left here, and there's my timing marks, and right now we're pretty much at top dead center again. You can see the marks are still lined up here. Alright guys, so I did more investigating into my crankshaft pulley issue. Yeah, so what I ended up doing was I went over to the twin turbo 300 and I stole the crankshaft pulley off of that. So now I know there's some differences between the crankshaft pulley on the twin turbo and the NA. The biggest difference that I know about is the power steering pump belt on the TT has 4 ribs and the one on the NA only has 3, which makes sense because the TT has to pump the power steering for the front rack and the Hikis. So that makes sense. So, but what I want to do is I want to show you these two crankshaft pulleys because, you know, obviously, again, one's off a TT and one is off of my NA. So, but that's the old one, and there's the new one. So as you can see, they are wildly different. if you look at them from the side profiles, like this, you can see this part. Now, again, this is the old one. This is the one off the TT. And I don't know if these are supposed to be like this or what, but this is the, you know, look how thick this is compared to this. And then this is thicker here, but it's thinner here. And then they're actually different sizes. Well, I mean, they're probably about the same size. I think it's just this lip that makes it look bigger. But at any rate, when we're talking about our timing marks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to point both of these with the keys, the keyways straight up. So both of the keyways are pointed straight up right now. And if you look at them, here's the timing mark on this one, and here's the timing mark on this one. So I personally believe that this is not the Pullley for a NA 300ZX. I think this is the Pullley off of another car, and somebody swapped it for whatever reason. I don't even know. But what I did was I pulled the, we're actually getting an underdrive system for the TT anyway, so we don't need this Pullley anymore, and it's in pretty good shape, so I'm not too worried about it. But we're gonna go ahead and put this crank pulley on, and then I went ahead and grabbed the power steering pump pulley off of the twin turbo, and I got a new belt with the 4-rib belt. I decided to go ahead and do that anyway, just because, you know, if we're gonna be drifting the NA 300ZX, then having the thicker power steering belt probably isn't a bad idea anyway. So we're gonna go ahead and get all this put in, and hopefully everything works out. So I'll check in with you guys after we get it all done, and we'll check out those timing marks again. All right, as you can see now, cam gear lined up with its mark. Cam gear lined up with its mark. Boom. 0 degrees top dead center. So this pulley should work. Let's get it all wrapped back up, take it for a drive. So Betty the Black Z is all put back together, and her nose panel's black now, which is sweet. New crank pulley lined up perfect, as you saw. Power steering pump, new belt turned out perfect, everything good to go. Filled it back up with coolant, ready to roll. So what I did was, the only issue I'm still having is the high idle. I can't seem to get the idle down below 1500. Not really sure why. Again, this thing could even have a computer program that I don't know about, so I don't even know how we'd figure that out other than swapping a ECU from another 300. But so what I did was I unplugged the idle air controller, and then I adjusted its screw so that it idles right. I don't think this is going to affect our drivability, but the only thing it might affect is, obviously, it might have a hard time starting when it's cold, and it also, it's possible it could die if I turn like the heat or the air conditioning on or something like that. So I don't know, we'll have to see how it works out. I mean, honestly, 1500 is really not that high. It is, but it's not too bad. But check out what it sounds like when it's idling at a normal height, normal speed, which right now I have it set at about 900. So